It is my great pleasure to welcome you to Accra and to this conference of African freedom fighters and supporters of the growing movement for Africa's liberation and unity, to rid Africa completely and forever of imperialism and its handmaidens, colonialism and neocolonialism. Long live African independence.
Along with many others, Patrice Lumumba believed the winds of change were turning Africa from colonialism to a new era of self-governance and freedom. He returned home from the All-African People's Conference in 1958, inspired by ideas for his homeland of the Congo: freedom, peace, and prosperity for the Congolese people. He was elected as Prime Minister in 1960, but his lack of experience, combined with mutinies, secessions, and foreign interference, led to Lumumba's murder. The assassination of Patrice Lumumba marked a significant turning point for a newly independent Congo. Just as the Congo was ending an age of exploitation and entering an era of unity and connection, U.S. interference turned the Congo back to colonialism, abruptly ending the era of independence for Africa, forcing it back to foreign reliance and starting a lasting era of neocolonialism and oppression. Almost a century before, leaders of European nations gathered in Berlin in 1884, without any Africans present, to divide up the continent of Africa in what we now know as the Berlin Conference. As part of the scramble for Africa that followed, Belgium's King Leopold II started private rubber plantations in the Congo. Because Leopold owned the Congo as personal property, the atrocities committed were kept hidden from other countries. After 2 decades of quiet exploitation, reporters went to the Congo and were horrified by the extreme maltreatment of the Congolese people. The Belgian government felt pressured to take over the Congo, and the Belgian Congo was formed in 1908. By the early 1950s, the Congolese people cried louder than ever for independence from ongoing injustices. One of these members was Patrice Lumumba, an independence leader with a gift for rallying crowds with passionate speeches. The message from the Congo was clear: Uhuru, freedom. While the Congo fought for freedom from colonialism, the United States was caught in its own geopolitical struggle. During the Cold War, rivalry, tension, and conflict between First and Second World countries spread into newly formed Third World countries, pulling their peoples and resources into the tug-of-war between capitalist US and communist USSR. Both sides feared the spread of opposing ideas and control. To American policymakers, communism seemed everywhere on the march. The continent of Africa was a perfect playing field for the Cold War adversaries. Back in Belgium, leaders with ulterior motives considered the Congo's cries for independence. The Belgian government embraced quick independence only because they knew the Congo wasn't ready for it. The basic government courses administered to prominent Congolese politicians weren't enough to run a country. At a political meeting in Belgium, Congolese leaders Patrice Lumumba, Moïse Tshombe, and Joseph Kasavubu called for a provisional constitution and an independent state. Patrice Lumumba would be prime minister and Kasavubu would be president. They won independence on June 30th, 1960, but they had no idea the trap they fell into. In what became known as neocolonialism, imperialist countries wanting to keep control of natural resources put social, economic, and political pressures on newly independent Third World countries to unofficially hand over their hard-won sovereignty. Even after gaining independence, the Congolese army, still under Belgian control, didn't experience the radical changes promised. Only 6 days after independence, the army mutinied. This violence led Belgium to send in paratroopers without Congolese permission. At Lumumba's request, the UN aided in controlling the mutiny, but while this was happening, the province of Katanga seceded, complicating matters further. The UN saw the secession as an internal matter and wouldn't intervene in Katanga. The US and Canada both declined to support, so Lumumba turned to the only country willing to help: Russia. He didn't expect the US to react so strongly to this action. Author Stuart Reed says, "Americans were seeing Soviet ghosts everywhere. Every possible move Lumumba made was interpreted as being under communist influence. Reaching out to the Soviet Union provided justification for foreign intervention, adding to the growing Congo crisis." Larry Devlin, CIA chief of station in the Congo, reported that the crisis looked like a classic communist takeover. The special group, the CIA's Division for Sensitive Matters, got to work on quelling the crisis under Project Wizard, the US's plan for Lumumba's political death. During one of Lumumba's speeches, a staged protest interrupted his rally and shouted for Lumumba's removal. US money was given to radio stations to broadcast anti-Lumumba propaganda. Anti-Lumumba politicians were helped to advance in political circles and paid to be more vocal about Lumumba's flaws. The US government sought the downfall of an elected leader because they feared that he leaned towards communism. Underneath this fear of communism was a desire for uranium. The Congo was rich in high-quality uranium, an essential element in making atomic bombs. The US already had covert uranium mines during World War II, and throughout the Cold War went to great lengths to keep the USSR out of the Congo, as both sides saw uranium as a source of power. Throughout the Congolese independence movement, Lumumba was against foreign powers mining his country's uranium, adding to the list of reasons the US sought his replacement. As foreign pressure mounted, Lumumba worked 18 hours daily to prevent his newly independent country from collapsing. However, his unwillingness to negotiate with other politicians added to the growing tensions in the Congolese government. Fearing a coup, Kasavubu broadcast on national radio that Lumumba was being dismissed and ordered the army's leader, Joseph Mobutu, to arrest him. Lumumba responded by broadcasting that the dismissal was fraudulent and ordered Mobutu to arrest Kasavubu. With Larry Devlin's guidance and a briefcase of CIA cash, Mobutu initiated a coup and arrested both the president and prime minister. While Lumumba was under house arrest, the US and Belgium both feared his potential escape and return to power, but the US felt a more immediate solution was necessary. The special group and the president met to discuss the issue. President Eisenhower had been heavily involved with the CIA and the special group, but this meeting was particularly significant. While no direct quotes were taken, it was clear that Eisenhower ordered Lumumba's death, marking the first known instance of a US president ordering the assassination of a foreign leader. A plot was made with vials of poison sent to the Congo. The poisons weren't needed though. In November 1960, Lumumba attempted an escape to Stanleyville but was caught by Katangan mercenaries, tortured for hours, driven to a remote countryside, and shot dead in Katanga by Belgian officials. The death of Lumumba was a radical turning point. President Kasavubu resumed control, which resulted in 4 more years of rebellions, secessions, and rigged elections. After these years of chaos, Joseph Mobutu once again initiated a US-backed coup and declared a state of emergency. With Mobutu in the front view and the US playing puppet master, the Congo was safely westernized and colonized again. Mobutu's second coup marked the official end of the Congo crisis in Western eyes, but Lumumba's murder marked the start of lasting oppression and neocolonialism in the Congo and for the continent of Africa. In the years after Lumumba's assassination, the Congo experienced a profound turn in its government. Mobutu's reign marked the beginning of a kleptocratic dictatorship, where he used foreign and Congolese money to build castles and gardens. Foreign presence is evident over the years of Congolese wars and genocides, with US money funding weapons and military training during the First and Second Congo Wars. US involvement stretches as far as the 2018 Congolese election, where the winner had significantly fewer votes than his opponent. The Congo crisis may have ended for Westerners, but it has never stopped for the Congolese people. They went from Mobutu's oppression to continent-wide wars to genocides to rebel terrorism, and Lumumba's role in the crisis cannot be ignored. By expecting UN troops to do his bidding, reaching out to the Soviets, and being unwilling to negotiate, he fanned the flames of calamity and contributed to foreign powers being less willing to support independence. The resulting 60-year conflict has killed over 6 million people and displaced nearly 7 million. Despite foreign and UN efforts, the country hasn't found lasting peace or stability due to the complex economic, social, and political relationships between the Congo and foreign powers. While the US wasn't the Congo's first colonizer, it maintains its role in oppressive neocolonialism to this day. Beyond the need for uranium, the Congo's rich cobalt mines have become increasingly important as technology advances. Cobalt, an essential mineral in batteries for cell phones and electric vehicles, mainly comes from the Congo. These mines do not always follow ethical standards. Wages are oppressively low, and current estimates have over 25,000 children employed. As recently as 2023, the US was working on bills with the Congo to secure access to cobalt. Congolese cobalt is just one example of how African countries and resources are exploited for capitalist gains. Diamonds, gold, titanium, zinc, and copper are just a handful of the minerals we take from Africa. Many of these minerals come from unequal trade deals with oppressively low prices that undermine local economies. The systems we have in place are designed to keep African countries dependent on developed countries, stuck in imperialism. When America escaped its imperialist rule, our founding fathers established important ideals, including the belief that every man has unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The American story has inspired revolutions, civil rights movements, and rebellions, including Lumumba's Congolese independence movement. By forcing cooperation and control upon the Congo, we took away a whole nation's right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration of Independence also states that when a government is unjust, it is a citizen's right. It is their duty to throw off such government. When our government makes plans like Lumumba's assassination plot, stands by while a leader is murdered, or tries to cover up a plot like in the Congo, we must stand for what is right to preserve our own and others' democracy. To honor the freedom Lumumba fought for, we must strive to rid Africa of imperialism and neocolonialism, starting today.